at that point, your brain thinks it already owns that thing. So what it does is it kicks your body into this involuntary pathway, subconscious pathway, to go get that thing, to go find it, to go find a way to get it.
Mm-hmm.
If that's true, 99% of us are not using the most powerful thing in our brains.
Come on now. Yep.
And it's free, doesn't cost you anything. There's no training. You just sit quiet, think about something, put it down on paper, color, concise, detailed, hang it up there, stare at it as many times as you can throughout the day, and that will show up in your life. It's just an amazing thing.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. So today we're going to talk about cash money. So matter of fact, blue collar cash. Okay. And I have the author of the book of the same name, Ken Rusk. And let me tell you about Ken, because I'll make shortcut and let you tell the rest of them. But Ken is a best-selling author, entrepreneur, motivational speaker who defied the odds by achieving Wall Street Journal status with his book, Blue Collar Cash. So even during the pandemic challenges, he was able to grow. He hosts a podcast called Comfort, Peace, and Freedom. And he imparts his wisdom on personal and professional development. And what I like, Ken, is that, he has an entrepreneurial flair. He has construction companies. And he collaborates with the likes of Tony Robbins, Tucker Carlson, Evander Holyfield, and supports organizations like Make-A-Wish, Tunnel to Towers, Ronald McDonald House, the Boys and Girls Club, Junior Achievement. And Ken, I wanted you to tell them the rest of it, what I didn't tell them, and let's help these people out. Ken, welcome to the Practical Wealth Show.
Well, thank you, Curtis. I appreciate you having me. It's a pretty organic story. I was 15 years old and I wanted to get my first, full-time job if I could. I wanted, like anybody, I wanted my first used car, take my girlfriend out for pizza, go bowling with my buddies, whatever. And my high school shared a fence with an industrial park, and we used to cut through a hole in that fence to get through the industrial park on our way to the carryout where we hung out after school, like we did back in the day. And I just remember walking through these places and seeing all this energy, hustle and bustle, and people running around and equipment moving and, backhoes and all that kind of stuff, dump trucks, whatever. So I went into this one building and I knew someone that worked there, and I said, "What do you guys do?" And they said, "Well, we're basically ditch diggers." So that was it. I started digging ditches when I was 15, and I'd do that in the summertime when I wasn't in school. In the wintertime, I'd work in the office after school. So I kind of learned the front and the back of the whole office there. And, 3 years of that, I was 18. Is it going to be college for me or is it not? I kind of went back and forth, and they came to me and they said, "We want you to go around the Midwest and open up brand new offices of our company from scratch." And so I thought, well, I can open up these companies. I can start them from scratch, learn how to build a business, then move on and do it again and again and again. And I thought, well, that's kind of as good as college is going to be, right? So I did that for 3 or 4 years, and then when I was 23, moved to Toledo, Ohio. I got tired of living out of a suitcase, so I decided to open up my own company in Toledo, which we did in 1986, and started with 6 people, and I think we just crossed 200. So it's been a hell of a ride.
Yeah, that is awesome. So I saw an interview with you where you were talking about and I've heard this before, the road to success does not necessarily go through Harvard or go through college, right? And talk about that, because you basically got the experience of an MBA doing the thing. Emerson said, if you want the power, you got to do the thing. And you start out doing the thing.
Yeah. So, in the history of our economy, there has always been about 6 launching pads or launching paths, if you will, to success. And I'm talking about, you can do an awesome career in the military. I know a bunch of fighter pilots that have an awesome careers there. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. And you can also work right out of high school like I did. You could be an apprentice. You could do a trade school or a tech school, or you could go to college. College has been one of 6 ways to launch your career or launch your path. The problem is college has kind of outmarketed everybody else and said, it's us or nothing. If you don't go to college, you're going to be a loser. You're going to be a failure. You're going to be nobody. And that's just never been true, Curtis. It isn't true now. It's certainly not going to be true in the near future based on what we're facing now. So I'm not an anti-college guy. If you're going to come at me with a knife to work on my shoulder because it needs worked on so I can go back out on the golf course,
right,
fine. But I want you to know everything there is to know about a knife before you come at me with it. So
right.
Being a surgeon, learning that in medical school and all that, that's great. You should do that. But just like, teachers or finance people or architects, engineers, they all need to know those things before they start building buildings. But if you're just going to school because someone told you that you had to, that's no reason to go. If you're going to school and you don't know why you're going, that is definitely no reason to go. Right. And, with the way these colleges are just racking up debt for these poor kids, it's not 30 grand all in for 4 years anymore. It's like 130 grand now. And you need to make a real serious decision if that's your path or not. Because if you can't say, I'm going to this school to study this specific thing, and there's a specific job waiting for me at the other side, then you really need to be careful before you blow all that money and then live in debt for the next 15 or 20 years.
I wish my wife was here to hear you say that. So, because it's funny because I'm like you, I'm very vocational, right? So you want to do this, you need this education to do this. So many people are like, it's a rite of passage. You're going to do liberal arts. You're going to, let's study art history. It's okay. To me, like if you're already kind of affluent, you can self-actualize with college, but
right.
A lot of people they're thinking they're going to come out and they're coming out with $100,000 in debt to work. They're bartending, with a master's degree.
Yeah.
And, with no skills to that. No, because, I always tell people, Ken, when you think about this, is that money is a result of creating value in the marketplace. And if you don't, how are you serving people? And that's why you don't make any money, because you don't, there's no tangible, you do this, you get that with that.
Well, yeah. And you also have to put supply and demand in there. Okay. We all learned supply and demand when we were in 10th grade in econ class. And, it's real simple. Where supply is low and demand is high, that's where the money goes. So why would you not let supply and demand work for you? Why would you say, I'm just going to let societal norms and expectations just drag me along and put me through a school that I don't want to go to, in a place I don't want to be for 4 years that I don't want to have to, live through, and then have to pay all that debt down? What's amazing is starting salaries for these business degrees went from 70,000 several years ago to 50,000 today. Well, why is that? Well, because they've oversupplied these kids coming out of school with, minor finance or minor communications degrees or minor business degrees, and they're non-specific and they don't really use them. Here's a shocking stat for you, Curtis. 40% of people that go into college today don't know why they're going. 40%.
40%. Wow.
Another 25% of those people change their mind in the first year or two. So there's some inefficiency and some waste there. But the worst number is today, only 35% of adults who have a degree ever use that degree, ever. So if you think of those numbers, it is a wholly inefficient system if you don't know exactly why the heck you're going there. And so and by the way, these schools, they're not responsible for your future. Once they got your money 4 years later, they don't even know your name. Okay. Right. They're on to the next kid. So, should they be held accountable to help find you a job? Probably. Yeah. But where else can you sell somebody something for $100,000? And then when they take that product and it doesn't work out for them and they come back to you, they say, well, sorry, maybe the government will bail you out. I mean, it's really uncanny. And the opposite side of that is true. So if all these kids are going into college and no one's going into these trades, guess where all the money is? I mean, I'm seeing basic starter construction jobs over $30 an hour. That's
Wow.
75 grand a year. Okay. I'm seeing electricians over $50 an hour. I put that on Instagram the other day and TikTok. It got 13 million hits.
Wow.
Okay. So you at least need to think about where you're headed before you make that multi-thousand or $100,000 decision.
Why do you think people don't? That's fascinating, because I've seen that. Like, I have clients that are, have, in my mind, I'm thinking of one of my clients right now. He's got the equivalent of a PhD. He's like the Michael Jordan of contractors, right? You can read blueprints, AVHC, plumbing, heater installation. I mean, you name it, he can do it right the first time, efficiently, on to the next deal. And is out earning most of these, PhDs or whatever, but that's not sexy for the parents today, or don't look at money that way. And
yeah, the problem, Curtis, is they're looking at the success of their children in all the wrong way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this. Would you rather say my son or daughter has this degree on their wall, or would you rather say my son or daughter is financially independent, is a problem solver, can do a lot of things around the house that they need, has a great life, they have a vision for what they want their life to look like, they're in control of their input, their output, their day, their schedule, their time, their financial gain. So I think we've gotten this all backwards. You don't live to work. Okay.
Right.
We're not on this earth to work. We work so that we can live. Well, I want to know what the live part looks like, because that, to me, is where the successful parent comes through. I wrote an open letter to parents several years ago, and I said, listen, I get it. I'm a parent too. You birthed your child, you raising your child, you clothed your child, you fed your child, you protected them, you taught them as much as you could. And now you think that the only way you can walk this earth is to say, I finished my parenting because they have a degree on the wall. That has never been true. And you've been blindsided and hoodwinked into thinking that through the marketing of these colleges and even some high schools. So a successful child is not an overly educated one. A successful child is a successful child, or a success story. And so look at look at how they're living their life and talk about that versus just what kind of piece of paper they have on the wall.
I think that's so wise. How would, as a parent with one just graduated and one that's a junior, well, she does want to be a lawyer, so I guess you do need to go to school for that. But it's not. How do we have that? How would you have that supply and demand discussion? Because I have a neighbor that son just graduated, not interested in going to college, but he's not. But on my mind, I'm going, I would have him do what you just talked about, because everybody's not, there's different types of genius, right?
Right.
And so it's not all academic. We just tend to focus on book learning, but there's some people are more kinesthetic. They're good with their hands, and and they can fix stuff. I have the person I'm thinking about, his son, who's like, what is he, 13? Very mechanical, like Lego stuff. He's building stuff. He built his own computer. So I could already tell his aptitude for construction and design, because he's his father's son, so should he go to college? I don't know. I think he should work with his father and take over their multi-million-dollar company.
Well, I can tell you, you're exactly right. I mean, first off, I would do this. I would say, let's look at the $400,000 swing. So let's assume you have a college degree and that costs you $50,000 a year, all in. And I mean, everything, gas, electric, your room and board, your books, everything, travel, the whole 9 yards. That's $200,000 after 4 years. Now, this gentleman and his son, he could go to work for his father, I'm sure, starting at $50,000 a year. Okay. That times 4 is $200,000 on the plus side of his asset base. So now you're talking about a $400,000 swing between a college degree and this gentleman that's up 200 grand on the positive side. You at least need to think about that before you just shove him into school, not knowing what he's going to do on the other side. You mentioned earlier the lawyer. Well, that's a specific thing. She wants to be a lawyer, so she's going to law school, right?
Right.
But when you talk about business and you say, well, what do you want to be? I don't really know. I'm just going to go get a communications degree, or I don't know. I'm just going to go get a business degree. But if you don't know what you want to be like the lawyer on the other side, that's when you really have to step back and go, time out. This is not a $30,000 situation like it used to be,
right?
Where you could stomach that even if you didn't use it. You're talking about a $100,000 to $200,000 expense. If you're not damn sure what you're going to be on the other side, man, that's a house, that's a car, it's a 401k. I mean, that's a start. That you're throwing away there potentially. So be very careful when you pick this.
And it's like a millstone around their neck. And then, because what they'll do is then they'll go, let me go to grad school. So what I hate to say this, because I was a business major. I can't think of anything I use that I didn't learn from my father, because my father was in business. His father was in business. We had a supermarket. So I was
very common
on another thing I was listening to with you, where like the kids can't like return change on a cash register, for example, right? My sister and I were on the cash register at 12 and 13 or 11 and 12 before the computer was there to make change. Like we had to make change. We had to look people in the eye. We had to say, okay, look, let me give you a quarter back so I can give you even money. I had to like talk to them and calculate,
right.
Calculate all this stuff in my head. And, it was unfortunately, I had my kids, they got their first jobs at like the supermarket, Wegmans, and they started cashiering at like 15 and 16. And I said, you're keeping the family tradition, but they had to look people in the eye. They still had the machine count change for them, but I try to give them at least the people skills to think, right?
Sure.
To because I was telling, look, you're nobody cares what your GPA was when you got out of school, and they'll get these perfection complexes. And I always ask my daughter, her name was Jay, I said, Jay, she making any mistakes today, right? Because she would get a B+ and hyperventilate, and I was like, listen, you learn by. My dad used to always tell me, you learn by screwing up. And I don't think people like in the real world, my dad said, look, I don't mind you making mistakes. He just said, make new ones. Don't make the same,
right. I like that. I might use that.
Just, because you try, you adjust. And so Ken, I feel like I'm hijacking. Well, it's not my show. I'm not hijacking, but I want to make sure that we, talk and talk about blue collar. Like that philosophy and, what you're trying to get out with your show in your book, because like this, you're like speaking my language. We're talking about the waste and stuff like that. So I don't want to make the whole show about that.
Well, when you look at it this way, so when I was in high school, you could walk down the hallway and see somebody changing a transmission on a Mustang. You could look to the right and see someone milling a leg for a table.
Mm-hmm.
You could look to the left again and see somebody welding something, somebody wiring something, building a small, maybe a barn or something. You could see people doing hair and nails. You could see people cooking. So you had all these options. And that's where millions of kids accidentally discovered how cool the trades were. That's where people fed the trades. That's where they came from.
Yeah.
And then in our infinite wisdom, we decided, well, let's get rid of all those machines and let's fill those rooms with computers. Now, I know we needed to learn computers. I get that. But why was it one for the other? Why couldn't we have had both of those things?
Right.
So if you pair that up with the fact that kids are spending all their time now on these things, I'm holding up a cell phone, instead of going out in the yard and building a tree fort or, fixing a bike or, fixing a lawnmower engine or whatever, cooking with their parents or whatever you want to do, doing hair, whatever. Instead of that, they're building things on Minecraft on their phone. And that's just not the same experience. I mean, we both know that. So if you pair those two things up with the fact that college is really good at shaming parents, they're at directing guidance counselors and teachers and principals to say it's us or nothing, you have a perfect storm that's working against the trades as far as supplying them new people. But I will tell you this, there are hundreds of 45, 50, 55-year-old people that own these small businesses that are making 300, 400,000 a year, and they have nobody to give these businesses to.
Huh.
You know, nobody's coming up to want to do those things. And again, sometimes I think, and this is controversial, but sometimes I think it's not so important what you do for a living as it is what you do with what you do for a living. Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
no one's ever rolled up into my driveway, Curtis, and said, you know, they looked at everything that I've accomplished and wow, this is pretty cool. What degree do you have? No one's ever said that to
That's
me.
right.
They've all asked me, how did I grind this life out?
Yeah.
I'm happy to share that with them. The point is, there has never been more six-figure jobs in blue-collar trades than ever. And if this trend continues, because I don't see this thing flipping around anytime soon, this problem's going to get even worse, which means that money's going to get even better. And at the end of the day, for you to work either for yourself or with your own company or with a small group of people, or to work for somebody else and then take their company over when they retire, which there's thousands of those, that's the fastest track I know to wealth that you create for yourself. And you get to start living that dream, that picture that you've drawn and put on the wall. You get to live that. And I don't know any other better way to live than to control your destiny like that.
Yeah, I was telling people, it doesn't matter what you do for a living. What business is your money in? Like I said, my money's in real estate. My money's in whatever. Here's a question, as you said, that I was thinking about is that, so, and this is from the eBay, there's a difference between being a technician, doing the work, and being the business owner, running the business, doing the work. And so how would you, and I don't think college is a way to do that, but what is your philosophy on maybe helping them bridge the gap to, hey, I want to take over a company, I want to start my own company or buy this company? Is there a bridge over that trouble order? Okay.
Yeah. So the first thing you have to do, and I recommend this, sorry, I put my phone up, but the first thing you have to do, and I recommend this to everybody, you have to draw out very clearly what you want your life to look like. And I mean, be very selfish now. Okay. What do you want your house to look like, your car to look like, your pet, dog or cat? What color? What would you name it? You know, what kind of vacations do you want to take? What kind of spiritual moments do you want to have? What type of health do you see yourself doing? Sports, hobbies, your charity moment, your give back. Draw all that out as crystal clearly as you can, because the more powerfully you have that, the more powerfully you can see that, the more drive you're going to have, and the more you're going to use those electrons firing on the visual side of your brain to drag you to that eventuality. And believe me, I've been doing this my whole life. It will drag you to that eventuality. You will get there if you just focus on it. So if you start with a powerful enough why, a powerful enough picture, then all you need to do is pair up with anyone who's 45, 50, 55 plus that has a company that you find even remotely interesting. Get inside, become an entrepreneur to their entrepreneur. And there's a difference. You know, the entrepreneur in me is the one who has to buy 40 dump trucks. I take all the risk. I have all the, the labor, and I have the health insurance and all that stuff that I have to be responsible for. But I have a lot of entrepreneurs that are here with me in this company. So take the entrepreneur route where maybe you're dipping your toe in the water because they're allowing you to run your division the way you want to run it. And they allow you to control your budgets and your time and your schedule and your financial gain with and through someone else's company. And then you slowly just you make it known that you will be interested in the company, and you slowly take it over. It's the absolute best college there is, because it's not only the college of hard knocks, but it's the college of wins. It's the college of vision. It's the college of doing the do. It's a college of maybe improving what the past owner used to do there.
Right.
And you pair that up with a really strong vision for yourself. There's no way you lose in that scenario.
I love that. Yeah, because if you can imitate before you what's the word? Change everything, but you can and learn the fundamentals. One of the things my dad used to do with me is if one time I didn't want to work at our bar. We had a bar too, right? And so I was not good at the financial stuff I'm doing now, mostly insurance. I was horrible. I was still broke, and I was working at a clothing store, and I was like, Dad, I hate it here. It's boring. He would go, and now people don't do that. I'm doing this with my daughter right now. She's working up in New York. I said, well, listen, he said, listen, could you run a clothing store if you wanted to? I go, I don't know. He says, well, pay attention. So I went back to work, and I knew the owners were multimillionaires, and I started to talk to the people that, the wholesalers that brought in the clothing and how they run the store. I just paid it. It was like a whole different thing, just passing time. And I think people don't pay attention to like how stuff works. They don't, and so I love that. Wherever you're working, how does it work? Where's the money made? What do you do? So if you're working in that, another thought came to me. I'm sorry, because I'm a visual. My ideas jumping out of my head is, let's say I'm not a kid and I'm mid-career. Could they go back towards blue collar? Have you seen that? Or are you just promoting it, not promoting it, but, as hey, this is a alternative career track other than what everybody's teaching you go to college? Have you seen that?
That is a great question. So first off, your dad's a very wise man, and make sure you tell him that I said so. I would say this. So there are 3 readers for my book, Blue Collar Cash. One of them is a young person starting out, wanting to know what they want their life to look like. And I'm talking about 15 years old to, let's say, 25. The second reader is a corporation that wants to use my book as a book club so that they can create as many entrepreneurs within that organization as possible to drive that company to heights that they've never seen before.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The third reader is the important one in what you're just asking, because that's the person who maybe did go down their path to college and they're sitting in some cubicle on the 15th floor selling medical supplies and they hate it. And when they went through college, maybe they were a plumber's assistant. And this is a true story. This gentleman was a plumber's assistant. He's like 42. He says, I worked my way through college with this plumbing job and I loved it. I was outside. I worked with my hands. I hung out with the guys. We went from job to job. And here I am hating myself. And why did I do this? So he quit his job and he went back to being working in plumbing. And now he said he's never been happier. There is a way to transition without going cold turkey, right? Mm-hmm. And that's called side gigs. I mean, it has never been easier to have a side gig. You can run your whole side gig business with your phone and a truck or a van. You can do it at night and on the weekends, and you can slowly transition from what you hate to what you love, right? From what you hate to what you would be more passionate about. So it's never been easier to run your own company. I used to run my company with a piece of paper, like a graph paper and a pencil, doing long column numbers on our financial statements. So, I mean, it was crazy. Now, people can do payroll on your phone. You can do accounts receivable, accounts payable. You can order on your phone. You can bill people on your phone. It's never been easier to start one of these side gigs if you're really entrenched in your current job. And I would say just give it time and let it happen. And if it happens, it's because you have that vision that is so strong that it's not a should happen, it's a must happen. And when the vision that you draw, and I suggest drawing it out and putting it on your wall where you see it several times a day. If that vision is powerful enough, you'll be doing that plumbing job in no time, or you'll be doing whatever that new passion is in no time, because you recognize that that's the means to that end. And there's no better way in my mind than to, begin with the end in mind, meaning that perfect life, that nirvana that I really wish I could live like that. That would be so cool. Start with that and then work your way backwards.
I love that. I try to do that with our client. I have a bunch of clients I've been asking this week if we're having, it's like a variation of Dan Sullivan question. We're having this conversation December 2024? What has to happen in order for you to feel good about your progress personally, professionally? And I go, wow, great question. Because I want specifics, because then let's work backwards quarterly to see what you need to do. So you start out January. I don't care about resolutions. I want you to have a game plan. Right. And I think that, I think that's brilliant. I love that. I'm because now I'm thinking about a few people I need to gift this book to.
Well, I can tell you this. People think that having goals is great. I would say that the word goal is the most overused word in the English language. Okay. And it's the most non-specific. Okay. Unless you're talking about a goal in soccer or a goal in hockey or whatever.
Right.
What I have a problem with is people go, yeah, I've got goals. I'm good. I've got goals. Okay. But is there a path to that goal? Okay. Because if there's no path, it's crystal clear, 52 stones. I'm walking on stone number 1, stone number 2. I'm going to get to stone 53 or 52. And then my goal is going to be right there. If you don't have an absolute clear path, and I mean, damn out, clear with the money and the deposits and the sharing of it and other people wishing you well. If you don't have a crystal clear goal, then all you have is hopes, wishes, and dreams. And I can tell you, those things never show up. I mean, they just don't, because they live there in this world of someday, and someday never comes. You know that, today does. So take a goal that you have. Let's say it's, I don't know, we did this one in Scotland. We wanted a bunch of us to go to Scotland to play golf. $4,000. Okay. Well, let's see. That would be $40 a week. We'd be there in 2 years, right? $100 a week. We'd be there, $80 a week. We'd be there in a year. So $40 a week would be there in 2 years. So, 20 some dollars, we'd be there in 3. That's what we did. Yeah. So all of us went to our payroll departments and said, take out 20 some dollars a week. Don't tell me about it. Just hide it away. And then we started anticipating, and we started dreaming, and we started seeing what we were actually going to do, from the golf courses we were going to play to the hotels we were going to stay at to the first class seats we were going to get on the 747, And when you do it that specific, then it's not a goal anymore. It's a path. Yeah. It's not a if, it's a when. And that's how you need to turn your goals into, because otherwise they just live up there in dreamland and they just never show up.
Yeah, they have what Ken just told y'all is the most important thing, right? Because Napoleon Hill says you got to have a chief definite aim, right? And so most people are only like less than 5% of the country has like, they're like, and I tell people it can't be wishy-washy. It's kind of like, you got to wake up and your butt's got to be on fire. You got to have, like, if you want to become financially independent, it can't be like, well, it'd be nice. You have to, like, I have a burning in my gut every day. Like, I can't wait to get up and get at my desk. Right. Sure. Because and I love what I do, but it's more so, it's the vision of, what I see happening for myself. I'm already planning the trips we want to go on next year, right. And here's what it costs. Here is this. When do we want to go? How much are the plane tickets? How much do we need to set aside? See, most people are like what Napoleon Hill would call drifting. Like 95% of people are drifting, and with no plans, no goals. You're like a running around with a ship without a rudder, and you wonder why you just follow along with society. But what's Earl Nightingale said, if you don't know what to do, look at everybody else is doing and do the opposite.
Yeah, I like that a lot. If I saw a study once, and I mentioned this in my book, and Virginia Tech did this thing. They took 100 people, they put them in a room, and they said, if you have crystal clear goals, raise your hand. Only 20 people did. So they got rid of the 80 people. They kept the 20. And they said, okay, of the 20 of you, how many of you have them written down somewhere in a really detailed fashion? Only 4 of the 20. And then they said, okay, get rid of the 16. Of the 4 that are left, how many of you can I go to your house right now and see it posted on the wall somewhere? Only 1. So, and the crazy thing about this is, you know who Tony Robbins is, of course. I talked to his son Jarek on this very Zoom call, and he was talking about the science behind that one person, because that one person they followed that one person for 10 years and they made 9 times more money than the rest of the group. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the actual attraction to those things that did it. So apparently when your brain sees something that it wants, it starts to fire these little neurons back and forth, like in really quick fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you stare at that thing and absorb it and internalize it, the more that thought becomes one electronic current that is just connected. Okay. Well, at that point, your brain thinks it already owns that thing. So what it does is it kicks your body into this involuntary pathway, subconscious pathway, to go get that thing, to go find it, to go find a way to get it.
Mm-hmm.
If that's true, 99% of us are not using the most powerful thing in our brains.
Come on now. Yep.
And it's free, doesn't cost you anything. There's no training. You just sit quiet, think about something, put it down on paper, color, concise, detailed, hang it up there, stare at it as many times as you can throughout the day, and that will show up in your life. It's just an amazing thing.
Guys, that's a writer downer. I mean, I think that is that's everything. Like I say, because people always want to know, oh, don't tell me about that mindset stuff, get to the tactics, but you can't do whatever you're trying to do without what Ken just said. In anything. I don't care what you want to do for a living. And don't get me fired up now, Ken. Ken, what so I want to make sure that what didn't I ask you that I should ask you, or something that you want to share that I didn't bring up yet?
Well, did I write a best-selling book? Yeah. Is it called Blue Collar Cash? Yeah. It's not necessarily directed just towards blue collar people. I mean, half the book or more than half the book teaches you how to get your mind right first, and then pick one of the many paths to go get there, like we just talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. But I will say this, I caution everybody that reads a self-help book. I heard a funny story. They said most self-help books become shelf-help books, meaning they just sit on the shelf and nothing ever gets done with them. And so I've asked people about that, and they're like, yeah, I read the book, but I never really did anything with it. So I actually built a course, and this course I've seen courses $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. No, this is $179. You get a free $25 book with it. And it forces you, Curtis, to take the things we're talking about right now and to start on them today, like in 20 minutes from now, like this afternoon. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It forces you to do that, because otherwise these books, we all feel good about each other. We all feel good about the fact that we read something and we can quote things from it, but there's no action. Okay. So I made this course, and just so you know, my life was really good before I wrote this book. I've been very successful, and I'm very blessed and very grateful. I think about that every day. I donate most of the money that I get from all these processes to charities anyway. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But think about it. Take the book, any book, and actually implement the things in your life. Do the things, okay? Just do it. And your life will be so much better off, and you'll have so much less stress. You'll have direction, you'll have motivation, you'll have focus. People that try to drag you down or hold you back, you will shun these people, and you'll be on your way towards the best life you've ever thought you could have.
That is awesome. I think so. And I think we have or you're going to give me the link for that, or I think you gave me a link for that already.
I will get you. Yeah. It's at kenrusk.com. So
kenrusk.com. Okay. So I think that's powerful. And I would love to promote that, because you have to take action. Like people are thinking about that stuff as we record this. It's December. I'm not sure when the show, it might come out right after that, but it'll still be the beginning of the year.
Sure.
And people make resolutions. That's like taking a hot bath. Once you stand up, it's you have to.
I like that.
Right. That's
great.
Yeah. So you need to really have a plan. One of the, as you're saying this, I'm thinking, because I'm I work with people on their money, but I find that people. I always tell people investing is a plan, right? It's not products or situations. Right. And so, what do you really want, and why? And then then you can pick, okay, now what's the vehicle? Is it business? Is it real estate? Is it whatever that, because we always teach, Ken, investing is not about buying something. It's about becoming something.
Right.
Is be, become, then do, then have. And I always tell people it's not Curtis's job to tell you what to become. What inspires you? You know, do you like real estate? Do you want to be in business? You know, people don't know how to sell anything. I think the fastest path to cash is a business. So if you're a contractor, you should get a construction company. I mean, like, you think you got to go back to school. No, you don't. Right. So
Right.
you're preaching my language, because I tell people, look, you want to become financially free is the objective.
Well, and here's the other thing about that. Okay. First off, resolutions, I love to hear them, because here's what a resolution sounds like. I'm going to start working out. And I go, okay, when? Well, I'm going to start. I'm going to start in January. Okay. Like what day? Well, I don't know. I'm going to start maybe this weekend. No. What time? What day? I want to know exactly when you're getting in your car to drive to the gym. Is it Saturday morning at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock? Because if you can't answer that question, I am done talking to you about resolutions.
Right.
Okay. Because that's not resolute. Look up the word resolute. All right. In the dictionary, it means I'm doing it. Not that I'm thinking about doing it or someday I'm going to do it or that kind of thing. So yeah, I love everything that you're saying. You can choose. You can choose to live in dreamland, hopeland, and wishland, or you can choose to live in actionland. And I choose actionland every time, because it's just such a cooler place to live.
Yeah. Tony Robbins said, personal power is to get the ability to take action. Right.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. And you've got to be self-directed to get yourself to do it. And I think that, and people want people to do stuff for them, because I always want somebody to blame if it doesn't work out. And, you just have to, I think we're raising a group of people that don't want to be responsible for their life. And, I know even my show, I'm targeting people, say, listen, one underlying message of my show is stop looking for other people to solve your problems. You need to take control of your life, and take control of your money, take control of your thoughts. And that's, I'm right with you, brother.
Well, look at it this way. I mean, when you go to the restaurant, do you let strangers order for you? No. When you go to the restaurant, when you plan a vacation, do you let someone else plan all the details for you? No. When you do anything, do you let somebody else clothe you in the morning? No. So if that's the case, if you know what all of your favorite things are, if you know all the things that you would love to have in your life, you would love to attract into your life, and that would make you feel comfortable, peaceful, and free, right? Like I talk about in the book, your own personal nirvana. Why are you letting these other people tell you how to live your life? Why are you letting these other people tell you the only way to get to be successful is this way or that way? You know this. You know this stuff. You own this stuff. So go do you. Okay, go do what you want to do for you, and just quit listening to the noise. You're going to be so much happier that you did that.
I'm going to kind of let that be the final word. So Ken, tell them how to find you, get the book, listen to your podcast. Where do you want them to go after you hear this? They should be fired up by now.
Well, yeah, I would say go to Ken Rusk, RUSK, KenRusk.com, and you can see the book and you can see the course there. You can go to @KenRuskOfficial and see all the socials. I have people help me do that. And we have some cool stuff there. The podcast is called the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom Podcast, and you can see it there. Although, I've been a guest on about 220 of them in the past year and a half. I've got probably 20 or 30 episodes of my own that are out there. But yeah, this stuff is so easy. I never went to school. I have no letters after my name. I have no training. I'm a life coach by default. I mean, I didn't get trained in how to do any of this stuff.
Right.
I just teach simple things that you don't learn in college or you don't learn in high school. I teach simple things that you can use to direct your life. And I don't want the credit for any of that. You're going to do the work. all I'm going to do is just set you on the first path, you know, that first stone, and then you
Right.
can take it from there.
That's right. I love that. It is simple. Everybody else is teaching you that it's complicated because everybody has an agenda and they want to control you, your thoughts. I mean, they come out of every time my kids will come back for a semester, I have to unbrainwash them
Yeah,
from their Marxist college professors. You know, I have to.
I'm with you there.
So, and you know, I'm like, what are y'all talking about? So listen, I make more money than all your professors. You need to listen to me.
Right.
And, so, but I digress. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but Ken, this has been so much fun. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
for sure.
it was great to meet you. Hope we can stay in touch, and I will make sure I pick up the book and promote the course because I think that's powerful. With your with the message, I think just such a basic message of like, what do you want? Figure that out, and then because you'll be pulled toward your goals once you get clear on what you want.
No
And
question
most
about
people
it.
never do that. Yeah.
Your brain is a powerful thing. Let it work for you, for sure.
There you go. There you go. Ken, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. And as recordings are coming up to the holidays, so you enjoy. And for listening to the Practical Wealth Show, share this with somebody because y'all know somebody that needs to hear this. I know y'all know somebody's kids that need to hear Ken's message or get that book. So here's a good message to share with people. Save a life. Help a friend. Get their kids straightened out. Ken, thanks again.
Thanks, Curtis. I appreciate it.